perhaps the best of all the best instants. I could be wrong. We'll see what, if anything, can top this one card. It's Ancestral Recall. Some debate that this could be better than Black Lotus. Black Lotus is just a one-time bam, shabam, you're done. You go out with a bang. It's basically a ritual for 0 mana. But you don't get any more cards. It's a pretty bad late top deck. But Ancestral Recall, for the investment of 1 mana, 1 singular mana, you're gonna draw 3 cards. You can also force your opponent to draw 3 cards, as the old versions of the cards said. But yeah, 1 mana, draw 3 cards. That's broken. I mean, that is just strictly broken. It's like, I don't even know what to compare this to. It's like almost slightly better than Bill from Pokemon. But Ancestral Recall is one of the absolute best instants of the game, given the fact that it's good in the early game, it's good in the late game, it's good when you mulligan. If you mulligan down to 5, no problem. You just Ancestral Recall yourself back to a beautiful hand. And it's a good reason why this card is like ultra mega super banned, as you see here. Banned in Legacy, restricted in Vintage, also very restricted, banned in Commander. Let me move myself over to the other side of the board so you can see the beautiful Ancestral Recall. All right, we got Liquid Soulfly with Swords to Plowshares. Time Walk is a sorcery. That does not count, but Swords to Plowshares, totally fair. Swords to Plowshares. The farmer. We got the oh no, does he look like a farmer here? Hold on. Let's go get a farmer version. There he is! For 1 white, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Back then, some people considered that an enormous downside. Oh, you're giving me life? Well, that's just gonna make it so much harder for you to kill me. You don't even have any creatures out, says the player playing against a control deck. Little did they know they didn't need a big creature, or many creatures, or any creatures at all, and they could still lose the game. So 1 mana, you get rid of the card, and of course control decks, when they have the game completely under control, they do not care what your life total is. And for the most part, the creatures are so big, the win conditions are so threatening, that it really doesn't matter that I gave you like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 life. No big deal. What's more important is that I spent 1 mana to deal with your creature, and you spent anywhere between 1 to 5. And, it's all gravy for the person who plays the Swords to Plowshares. Alright, Monstrous CC with Ad Nauseam. That is true. This is even more broken when it comes to Commander. So black, 3 generic. It's like a super, depending how you build your deck, and depending how you build your deck, this could be like worse than Necropotence. So black, 3 generic, instant, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to the converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. So you pull off your Ad Nauseam. You can draw whatever you want, so long as your life total is high enough. In Commander, you've got 40 life to work with, so go for it. All you can eat. But if you combo it with like Angel's Grace or something, where it says you can't lose the game that turn, you can just draw your entire deck and then go ham after that. So Ad Nauseam, one of the more powerful, maybe one of the most powerful card draw spells, has a lot of parallels to like Yawgmoth's Bargain and Necropotence. A lot of parallels. Alpha Nerd with the super chat. Fling, so much fun with Exalted. Are you serious? Fling, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Fling one of the best instants in Magic the Gathering? It might be like one of the more fun cards in Magic the Gathering, but I don't know if this has ever seen any competitive play. Has anyone ever flung someone to death in a tournament? Like in a high stakes tournament? I think it's a very funsy card, but not necessarily one of the best cards in the game. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, Force of Will. Force of Will. The glue. They call it the glue to Legacy. I don't even know if that's true anymore, because everyone has a Force of Will now. People have Solitude. I think they use Fury. I'm not sure. They use Solitude for sure. So Force of Will, blue, 3 generic. Can pay a life and exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. And you can't counter target spell. Also very important in competitive EDH, I'm sure. Any of the free counter spells are incredibly important. You need your Force of Wills, you need your Pact Negations. This might end up being like just a list of a bunch of counter spells to keep old formats together. I mean, you know what? If you don't have these counter spells, people will just go crazy with ritual combo decks and then storm you out to death. All right, what else do we got here? Sky with the lightning bolt. Actually, you know what? This could be, if it wasn't for bannings, this, I mean, if you include bannings, this might be the single best instant in the entire game. So lightning bolt for red. Lightning bolt deals 3 damage to any target. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. So for the most part, lightning bolt does kill almost everything in terms of creatures. But in the late game, you can go straight to your opponent's face. So your opponent is down to 2 life. Great, now they're in lightning bolt range. So you have the outs of top decking lightning bolt to win the game. So it's good on defense, it's good on offense. Lightning bolt. Chris with Cyclonic Rift. This has seen some competitive play. Like, it does see play in, was it like some mono blue Tron decks? So Cyclonic Rift is not like a funsy card. But I think even at a does this see competitive play in Commander? This is a competitive Commander card, just in case they have like a lot of mana. I know it's a casual Commander card. So I mean, like, the games take forever. You'll easily get to 7 mana, who cares? And then just bounce everything back to people's hands. The one-sided upheaval, more or less. Nah, yep. Well, that's a little contradicting. Card is it is definitely a house in Commander. I mean, I'll definitely put it on the list as like one of the best. No doubt about it. Its price tag says so. Look at that price tag. $40 for this thing? I remember when it was $5. Wasn't really that big of a deal. We got Dr. Django. Does discontinuity count? We'll find out. I don't know what this card is. Blue, 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 3 generic. As long as it's your turn, this spell costs blue, blue, 2 less to cast, end the turn. That could be important. I guess it's a good card. I really don't know all the nuances and what's it called? All the interactions with ending the turn. Like, I understand there's probably some cards that are like at the end of your turn you lose the game, so you just end the turn immediately so you don't hit those triggers anymore. So it dodges triggers. You run it in Bant Pioneer Control? This is very bizarre. Josh Karen with the super chat. Chaos Warp or Heretic? Yeah, I've heard of Chaos Warp. A bunch of people got some Christmas Chaos Warps. So what is it? A red 2 generic instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it onto the battlefield. Oh, so it's red removal. That's not bad. Red 2 generic, basically bounce anything, and maybe you get something back. Probably not as good as the thing that I bounced, so don't be bouncing tokens, people. Don't be bouncing that 1/1 token. You gotta make sure you bounce Ulamog or something. Hit the Ulamog instead. Cooler King with the super chat. Berserk won me so many games in the earlier days. Isn't this also removal? Okay, so it's a pump spell very often in Infect decks. Cast Berserk only before the combat damage step. Target creature gains trample and +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power. At the beginning of the next end step, destroy that creature if it has to attack. Okay, so it's not removal. They worded it perfectly. You can only cast it before the combat step, so you have to give fair warning to the player. So it like maybe pseudo fogs, maybe in some world. I always thought this was sort of like a removal spell, but no, it's a removal spell for your creature. But you intend on winning with it that turn. Berserk is a classic. Counterspell? How haven't we talked about it yet? Counterspell is absolutely great card in Modern. You know, it's been a staple for eternity and has now been deemed too good to print into Standard. They just won't do it. They won't even put Mana Leak into Standard anymore for a blue-blue counter-target spell. So I think the last printing in Standard was Mercadian Masks. Something to that effect. That's insane. No one likes their cards getting countered. It's one of the largest feel-bad moments in all of Magic the Gathering. And the control players are wondering, why do they keep making counter spells worse? Well, because no one likes playing against counter spells. They just don't like it. Vampire, the Tutors. They're all instants, aren't they? These cards are crazy. How did they go ahead with any of these things? They've reprinted them so many times now in like the Commander sets. It's like, okay, well, if they want to play with their tutors, well, we'll give them all the tutors they could possibly want. Go for it. So Vampiric Tutor, 1 black instant, search your library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. You lose 2 life. The true power is achieved through the blood and sweat, but mostly blood. And what other tutors there are? There is Mystical Tutor. These are all crazy combo cards. And it's funny, this is like the one tutor to rule them all. Vampiric Tutor is just above and beyond everything, because you just get whatever you want. Like, everything else seems like watered down in comparison. So Mystical Tutor, look for an instant or sorcery card, reveal them. What are all the other tutors? There's, Enlightened Tutor? Enlightened Tutor? White, search your library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal that card, put it, shuffle your library, then put the card on top of it. Is like Gamble the other one? I don't know if Gamble is like the red one, but I honestly don't know what there's Worldly Tutor. I know that's the green one. Yeah, Worldly Tutor, green, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, shuffle your library, then put the card on top. Gamble is the red one? Gamble, you gamble with that thing. Where did it come out? It came out like Urza's cycle. Did they complete the cycle or something? No, like in Mirage. This thing came out Mirage, Worldly Tutor. Or did it just take forever to complete the cycle? They're like, well, what would red go for? Land? No, you can look for any card, but you're gonna have to discard something at random. Oh, it's a sorcery! That's a problem. Disqualified. Wow, what a so bad. Everything else is an instant. Then they gave red a sorcery. Red don't got one. All right, red has been left out to dry. All right, we got some super chat. Good. Thank you so much, Josh. Maybe not the best instance, but some of my favorite. March of Multitude and Ink Shield. I'll look up March of Multitude only because you super chatted. Not because it's actually good. Well, and I know this card. Convoke. Create X/1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. They won't see it coming. They absolutely won't see it coming. All right, we got John with Reset, especially when imprinted on Isochron Scepter. What is this card? Cast Reset only during an opponent's turn after his or her upkeep. Untap all lands you control. Oh, interesting. That is a unique card. And it's actually quite pricey at like $33. Interesting. Here's the OG one. It's not on the reserve list. So don't invest in Reset unless you want to get hosed when they reprint the damn thing. Zebra Stripe. Teferi's Protection. Teferi's Protection. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Exile Teferi's Protection. For anyone that loves it. Okay, you know what? Well, hold on. Someone mentioned, I don't know where it was, but, you know, we went through Counterspell, so we can't do Counterspell unless we do Mana Drain. Because it's basically Counterspell plus, right? How do we talk about Counterspell and ignore Mana Drain? Blue, counter the spell. Then at the beginning of your next main phase, you get mana equal that spell's mana value. Now that's value. I would love to see this unbanned in Legacy. And apparently this is not good enough for competitive Commander. There's like a debate on the 2 mana counters. You're either spending 1 mana or 0 mana on your counters in Commander. If you're spending any more than that, it's not worth your time. I think it's still worth. Well, anyway, I'm not gonna argue with the competitive players. It's also possible that there's just no room for Mana Drain after you put your Force of Will, Pact of Force of Negation, all your pacts in there. And then we've got Azaya. Thank you so much for the super chat. The red the red tutor was Goblin Matron. Maybe. In goblin form. But not an instant. All right, you heard. Okay, we're gonna look at way more powerful instants in Magic the Gathering, but we have some housekeeping. As we usually do, we gotta thank our sponsor. I'm lost here. FusionGamingOnline.com. It's where I get all my paper Magic cards, the singles of my deck binders, deck boxes, sleeves, and more. Deal of the week this week, save 15% off all Ravnica City of Guild block singles. So you're looking for some, if you want the OG Shocklands, you want to play Magic in style, now's the time to get 15% off. And also support the channel by buying from FusionGamingOnline.com. Also, don't forget to use coupon code Nikachu for an additional 5% off when you are shopping at FusionGamingOnline.com. Also supports the channel. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place for renting Magic cards online. If you're afraid of your cards getting banned, don't worry, because this is the ban list saver. Your cards don't get banned, Mana Trader cards get banned. So play all the broken stuff you could possibly want without the fear of your deck getting annihilated. Because if it does, you just send it back to Mana Traders and rent a new one. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_P9S. And now back to the beautiful instant. Well, this is not instant. Let's go back to an instant. There we go. There's an instant for us. Okay, what do we got? Sorry. Yeah, P9 to the S. Yeah, I can't say it too quickly. Could be a problem. Brainstorm its recall at home. Oh yeah, Brainstorm. Don't tell the Legacy players, but I think this should just be banned in Legacy. I mean, truth be told, there's a lot of cards in Legacy that should probably be banned, but you don't ban them because it's part of it's part of the system, you know? It's just part of the format. This is why you play the format. You know, you play the format because you want to play with your Brainstorm cards. You want to play with these old busted cards. I mean, essentially in the late game, you always have these extra lands in your hand or some rubbish or garbage that you want to get rid of. You just Brainstorm. Draw 3 cards, put the garbage cards back on top, then you crack your fetch land, and it's like those cards don't exist anymore, and you're going to have some fresh cards at your upkeep. Levy with the super chat. Thank you so much. Dark Ritual to sing your vampire. Dark Ritual is busted, isn't it? But not for Sing Your Vampire's sake, it's actually for Storm's sake. Man, imagine having this in Modern. I don't know if I told you guys this story, but I was in a Modern tournament recently where someone pulled out Dark Ritual in their deck. They were sort of new to the format, so we're going to forgive them. You know, anyone can make this mistake. Usually those mistakes are caught, though, at like the F&M level. But showed up to a competitive format with Dark Ritual in their deck. Fortunately, only just one. But just, what would it be like if Dark Ritual was in Modern, in addition to all the rituals that we already have? Storm would go crazy. I think they're still missing a card, right, though? They're missing, like, Tendrils of Agony in Modern. We don't have that one. Cooler King, thank you so much for the super chat. Bloodlust, I used to pump my creatures that weren't blocked or weaken my opponent's creatures for chump blocking. How does this work? Okay, if target creature has toughness 5 or greater, it gets... Oh, this one. It gets +4, -4 until end of turn. Otherwise, it gets +4, -X until end of turn, where X is its toughness -1. Alright. So basically, it forces the creature to become a 1 toughness creature, right? And you just buff it up. Probably not one of the best cards, though, in Magic the Gathering. Alpha Nerd, thanks so much for the super chat. Does Wandering Emperor count? Is it an instant? Oh! The Wandering Emperor. No, it doesn't count. But thank you very much for the super chat. It has Flash. One day maybe we'll get around to Flash creatures, but it's just not an instant. Balder, the instant you realized you are the... Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Balder. It's the best super chat I've heard all day. The instant you realized you're the best. Same to all of you out there. Very wholesome coffee crew. Where would I be without all of you? Irwin with Veil of Summer. What a bugger of a card this is. This card's insane. For 1 green, draw a card. If an opponent casts a blue or black spell this turn. Just if they played a creature, you can cantrip this. Happens all the time to me. Spells you control can't be countered this turn, and you and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. It's so deceptively good. It doesn't look that great on paper, and it took a little bit of time for like people to figure out this thing was like insane. It was like sort of, it wasn't instantly played in every single deck when it got printed. It took like 2 to 3 months for people to realize this is an insane hoser. Like if you play this against a Thoughtseize deck, that is backbreaking. Fetch, shock, lose 3 life, Thoughtseize, Veil of Summer. You get nothing, and I draw a card. It's like the reverse Thoughtseize. Not to mention it's just backbreaking versus like blue counterspells in general. Again, the blue counterspell players are crying at the legality of Veil of Summer, even though it's only legal. It's still legal in a lot of formats. Legal in Modern and Legacy. Is he playing Commander? It's a weird card to have in the main deck for a Commander deck. I could see it happen though. We got MG Fox. Thanks so much for the super chat. Fact or Fiction? It's Modern legal. Oh, I misspell it. Fact or Fiction, 1 blue, 3 generic. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent of your choosing separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Try to pretend like you understand what's important. This is crazy. I think one part of this card people don't realize is that the other one goes into your graveyard, so that if you are playing a deck that utilizes the graveyard in one way or another, through graveyard synergy, strategy, increasing your delve, or fueling your delve, Fact or Fiction is fantastic for those decks, and it will at least get you 3 cards. If you just need raw cards, sometimes you just need a bunch of lands. You want to make your land drops. Fact or Fiction is there for you. Oh, Once Upon a Time, a super mega banned card. Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time. Green, 1 generic. Where Flavor got R&D in trouble. This card was designed for flavor, because this is supposed to be at the beginning of the game, right? Once upon a time, we are starting our adventure. If this spell is the first spell you cast this game, once upon a time, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Oh god. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or a land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I have no idea how they approve this card. I don't see how cards so early in the game are more fair when they're free. Impossible. Basically every card that gets banned because they're free is always because it abuses the earlier portion of the game, not the later portion of the game. So anyway, Once Upon a Time, just super ultra banned for that reason. I'm not looking for cards that have flash. We're talking instants, actual instants. Entomb, thank you very much, Tribe Wars. We got Entomb here. Black, instant. Search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Fantastic. The huge card in Reanimator, but also if any card that you need to be in the graveyard to give you synergy. I mean, go get your Golgari Grave Troll, I guess. Is there any other big applications to this to Entomb outside of Reanimator? I want to say there definitely is, but I don't play these graveyard decks. I don't play black at all. Can't you? Oh, to get anger, go put anger in your graveyard. Because it gives everything haste, right? I'm anger. As long as anger is in your graveyard and you control mountain creatures, you control have haste. The power of the dark side gets fulfill your anger. I don't know. Dredge maybe, probably not. Storm? Oh, Storm. Storm could use it. Yeah, flash. You entomb something that you need to flash back from the graveyard. True story. Makes a lot of sense. Josh with the Constant Mists. Constant Mist. Green, 1 generic, instant. Buyback. Sacrifice a creature. Creatures deal no combat damage this turn. None. What? Why do we want to play this card? I don't get it. Is this a Pauper card? I swear I've played against... Oh no, I think I played against something similar to this. But they sack a creature. Anyway, I'll leave it to the coffee crew as to whether this is one of the best cards or not. Okay, Jason, Abiance, and on an Isochron Scepter is OP. I don't remember what this is. Abiance. Okay, until end of turn, target player cannot play instants, interrupts, sorceries, or abilities require an activation cost and draw a card. That's not bad. And yeah, if you could repeat that, that's a card drawing machine. That is very interesting. Until end of turn, target player can't cast instant or sorcery spells, although they can play it in response to this. And that player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Draw a card. Beautiful. Oops. We've got Arcumbolt Vincent with Stifle. Card I want to see reprinted in current formats. Blue, instant, character activated or triggered ability. I'm telling you, people, activated and triggered abilities, they are running free and rampant in Magic the Gathering. There is no safety valve on this stuff. None whatsoever, which is, I think, brutally annoying. You know, it's one reason, like, Primeval Titan is so powerful, is we don't have enough ways of dealing with ETBs and triggered abilities. You attack, I mean, they're almost always getting their triggered ability. Basically, nobody has power versus the triggers once they've hit the battlefield, and, like, even blue doesn't have a whole lot of them, but this is one of them. Not to mention, it screws over fetch lands. So if you hate people with fetch lands, yeah, you stifle their fetch land is basically 1 mana blue stone rain. Get them dead. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, Collected Company is a fantastic card. Absolutely, Irving. So green 3 generic, look at the top 6 cards of your library, put 2 creature cards with convert mana cost 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Many can stand where one would fall. So the deal with Collected Company is, well, it's a 2-for-1 at flash speed. So if you're like this dirtily creature deck that's a little bit clunky and you always wanted to get more value for your mana and also get a sort of play around counter spells or even sweepers, I mean, that's the power of Collected Company. I've played with this card many times. Your opponent wants to tap out for a Planeswalker, their control deck, Collected Company. You put out a nice board presence, and all of a sudden they Supreme Verdict it all away, Collected Company at end of turn. So it's a way of rebuilding what you've lost, and also just adding in general. Not to mention, this is a great combo piece card, or like for like decks that are pseudo combo decks, you can basically dig deep for the missing combo pieces you have for your creature combo. Alpha Nerd back with Silence, or well, Unsummon is definitely not worthy, but Silence is. Silence is a great card. Silence! Silence you. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. For single white. Spells cast before this resolves are unaffected. Take a quiet moment to reflect on your sins. Fantastic way to set up your own combo. It's like, yeah. It's just to protect you. Silence, you want to counter this? Because if you don't, well, you're not going to counter anything else that I do for the rest of the turn. Jesse with the super chat, thank you so much. Hinder paired into Tunnel Vision in Commander. Hinder. That is some sort of counter spell, right? Counter target spell. If the spell is countered this way, put that card on the top or bottom of its owner's library instead into that player's graveyard. A useful counter spell, especially if you don't want the thing to go into your opponent's graveyard. Put it right back into their deck. What else do we have here? Force of Vigor. I guess we should go through the whole Force cycle anyway for Modern Horizons. Really. Do you know what's the crappy thing about Force of Vigor? A lot of people assume that this would be a great card versus combo decks or like artifact-based decks, any decks that are trying to abuse like cheap stuff. But what it ended up happening is it would... Okay, let's read the card. Green, 2 generic. If it's not your turn, you can exile a green card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. So what like ended up happening is this card was being used in the combo decks to blow up the artifacts and enchantments that were disrupting their combo. So if you're a graveyard-based deck and you pull out the Grafdigger's Cage, you just whoops. You pull out the Force of Vigor. You counter with Force of Vigor. If they would have like Rest in Peace, Grafdigger's Cage, Relic of Progenitus, Unlicensed Hearse, anything, they blow it up. So it actually ended up being a tool for the combo decks, not to be used against artifact combo decks. So that was a deep crying shame, unfortunately. What else do we have? We had the Force of Negation. That was a great force. A force for good, you would say, when it loads. Hope you all are enjoying your coffee. Who has more than one cup of coffee a day? Who doesn't have coffee during lunch? So blue, 1 generic. If it's not your turn, exile blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. So just another way of... But you can only, for the most part, you can't abuse this card. I think the only way you can abuse this card to protect your own combo, it's mostly a counter spell against combo decks. The only way you could use this to protect your own combo is if you're like an ad nauseum player, where you on your opponent's turn cast ad nauseum, and then you can protect your ad nauseum with the force negation. King Ginger always loaded up on coffee. I have 3 24-ounce cups of coffee a day. That's insane. It's a bit too much for me, in my opinion. What else do we got here? We got Captain Carlos, first-time commenter. Enjoy the AI card invention creation videos. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I really appreciate your super chat, and I love those AI videos. And we're gonna keep them coming for eternity. Michael says, I can safely say I use more caffeine than most. I hope I can manage. So long, my rule of thumb is if you can fall asleep comfortably, then it's all good. Lava Spike is sorcery? Sorcery. Abzo, you keep mentioning cards that sound like instants but aren't. 16 Izalb, thank you. Abrupt K. True story. Abrupt K, green, black, instant. Can't be countered by spells or abilities. Destroy target non-land permanent with convert mana cost 3 or less. Cards like this were actually designed for formats. I believe this was made to beat counterbalance decks at the time in Legacy. Like, the whole point was, like, it was hard for people to beat the Sensei's Divining Top counterbalance deck. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, counter that spell if it has the same converted mana cost as the revealed card. So they invented Abrupt Decay, so as like a tool to beat those cards. A universal tool for the Jund players, the Abzan players. The Sultai players? Sultai, the least popular of all the Golgari shards. But anyway, yeah, Abrupt Decay. It's still good today. We've got Kai Harris. Thank you so much for your super chat. Moonlight Bargain, if you did that. Stinging Study. Moonlight Bargain. Never heard of it. I think I've heard of it. What is this? Black, 3 generic. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. For each card, put that card into your graveyard unless you pay 2 life. Then put the rest into your hand. Whoa. Okay, hold on. For each card, put that card into your graveyard unless you pay 2 life, then put the rest into your hand. I don't understand how this card works. Okay, look at 5 cards. Now, for each card, put it into my graveyard unless I pay 2 life. So I put...
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. So hold on. I pay 2 life. I'm not quite understanding this card. Draw 5, lose 10. But what's with this word, then put the rest into your hand? For each card... Oh, I see. We're not putting it into the graveyard. That's how they're wording it. So we're not putting it into the graveyard, which does not mean you're putting it into your hand. So by default, they're all going to the graveyard, and then you figure it out from there. Gotcha. It's a commander card. Oh, Village Rites. That's a real card. And it's instant. People love this card. I think it's overrated. But it does work in the right match, in the right deck. Black. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sack a creature, draw 2 cards. People just love the idea that they can sack their creature and draw 2 cards, or in response to a removal spell. Village Rites. It's basically like the closest you can get to like an Ancestral Recall. Because you're going to nail your opponent's removal spell effectively, and you draw 2 cards. I guess it's a 3 for 2, maybe. Sort of. The Stick Bug Lava Dart. Lava Dart, red instant, deals 1 damage to any target. Flashback, sacrifice a mountain. This card doesn't look like much, but then if it's popular in a format, it just absolutely destroys all the 1 toughness creatures, makes them completely unplayable. And it is a huge powerhouse to all the prowess decks out there. So if you got yourself your Monastery Swiftspear and your Soulscar Mage, or your like, I can't think of any other prowess creatures off the top of my head, it fuels them big time, makes it impossible to block them. Boulder with the insane the 69 super chat. This one's for the coffee crew and everyone who shows up every morning for the best MTG content around. Have an awesome Friday, everyone. Thank you so much, Balder. We're gonna give cheers to Balder for that. Thank you so much, Balder. I really appreciate it. What else do we have here? Wow, that put some that's like some natural caffeine that I can't get out of my coffee. Yeah, now that's a super chat. We have Polarity here. What is this? Peak? Oh, I like Peak. Has seen competitive play. It's like the next best thing to Gitaxian Probe. So a blue, look at their hand, draw a card. I have played that card competitively. I like it. Huge fan. Oh, Capsize. Mr. Deadhead. This was like classically such a big card in Magic the Gathering. Saw a lot of competitive play like a long time ago. Like a long time ago. Blue, 1 generic. Return target permanent to its owner's hand with the buyback of 3. So you need a lot more mana to buy it back. But if you do have that mana to spare, you have infinite bounce spells every single turn. And if you have infinite mana, blue mana on top of that, you can bounce everything to your opponent's hands. Death by bounce. Captain Carlos, Pillar of Light. I always hate huge creatures attacking me. Who likes big creatures attacking them? Nobody. So white 2 generic, exile target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Is that really the best way to deal with it though? We got Carlos here working on a budget to deal with the big chunky creatures. Mana Tithe. This is like the best way to get a bulging vein out of somebody's forehead. 1 white, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. Does remind me about Daze, though. We didn't talk about Daze. For a blue 1 generic, you can return an island you control to its owner's hand rather than pay Daze's mana cost. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. And you better believe people are never going to hold up that 1. Nobody respects the Daze. Nobody. Because it would cost them 1 more turn. So then another... If you let your opponent take 1 more turn, I mean, they might combo off against you. So the only way to protect yourself against someone comboing off is to combo off yourself. What's another one? I saw Mental Misstep here. This absurd card for a Phyrexian mana, counter target spell with converted mana cost 1. I don't know. This is not a particularly old card. I guess the problem is that it was Phyrexian mana. They didn't know how good or bad this thing was going to be. So it ended up being outrageously powerful. A little too powerful, if you ask us. Just over the... So if, for free, you can counter anything that costs 1 mana. Power Blast, Soul Rings, Mana Vaults, other Mental Missteps. It was a mental misstep for them to play their Mental Misstep. There's also a mental misstep to invent mental misstep. But there it is. We can't go back. Jason Herbert. Tangle more Isochron nonsense. Oh, I know this card. You can put this on Isochron Scepter. Wow. Prevent all combat damage to be dealt this turn. Each attacking creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So what, you like do this every turn? So you like, if you do this every turn... Prevent all combat damage to be dealt this turn. Each attack. Oh no, you know what? You can't do that. You have to on one. This would be pretty good. Then they would never untap, right? It would never untap. I used to play this in Standard, way back in the day. We got the Alpha Nerd here with Bituminous Blast. Bituminous Blast. Red, black, 3 generic instant cascade. Bituminous Blast deals 4 damage to target creature. So it's a removal spell, but you also get that cascade attached. That reminds me. Okay, it's all about instant. We go Violent Outburst. This isn't a sorcery. This is arguably the best cascade spell of all cascade spells for a red, green, 1 generic. Cascade. So you cascade into like Living End, Crashing Footfalls, Ancestral Visions. You know, those... Basically, you sculpt your deck so that it's basically a tutor for whatever you want. Oh, by the way, your creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. That can sometimes kill people. So weird. Oh, that's a great one. Growth Spiral. Isn't this banned somewhere? I thought it was banned somewhere. Maybe it was banned in Standard at the time. Blue-green. It's like Explore, but more. Draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield because it's instant speed. Instant speed Explore. That can't be broken whatsoever. Not. Daze and Gush weren't just common in Nemesis and Mass. They were hyper common. Our silly casual minds didn't even register that they were good. That reminds me. Gush. Damn. This was legal in Pauper for years. I missed out. You know, I play a little bit of Pauper now, but I would have loved to know what it was like to play with Gush. You may return 2 islands you control to their owner's hands rather than pay Gush's mana cost. Draw 2 cards. Don't trust your secrets to the sea. This card is really crazy. Because very often it can also be considered mana. Because let's say you don't have a land drop. Well, you just float 2 mana, Gush, put one of the lands back onto the battlefield, and it's not. You didn't lose. You lose like 1 land drop, so it's effectively like return 1 land to your hand, draw 2 cards. And you still get the mana. You can still float the mana. It's not like it says you have to return 2 untapped islands. You absolutely can return any islands you want. Just joined. Did we do Mental Misstep? Ah, you just missed it. We just did it a second ago. Did we do Angel's Grace? One white instant, split second. You can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn. Until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So great in your Ad Nauseam deck, as we just talked about. The best instant speed combo. Ad Nauseam, you can't lose the game. Sorry, Angel's Grace, you can't lose the game. Then Ad Nauseam, draw your entire deck because your life total going below 1 means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. Can't lose the game this turn. It's all good. Do we do Gifts Ungiven? I don't think so. This is an underrated card. And you know what's funny? This thing's banned in Commander. It's not banned anywhere else except Commander. Can someone explain that to me? Like, what's the point? Target opponent chooses 2 cards. Like, what exactly breaks this in Commander so badly that is different from other formats? Or is it just getting, what's it called? Past in Flames. Because I don't see Gifts Ungiven being any more broken in Commander than, say, Legacy, for example. The Stick Bug is like, I honestly don't even know why it's banned. Maybe in combination with all the mana rocks, this is a little bit more broken. Because in other formats, like Legacy, you have to depend on rituals to get that extra mana. But the mana is so free in Commander that it's crazy powerful. It's banned in Commander. See? Legal in Modern. It doesn't even see play in Modern anymore. Legal in Legacy, legal in Vintage, legal in Penny. Oh god, it's worth less than a penny. And then banned in Commander. So weird. Just crazy. Oh, Lord Magicus, happy birthday! Oh, do I have a birthday sound effect for you? This is the closest I got. This is my happy birthday song to you. Happy birthday, Lord Magicus. Let's do Flash. So apparently this is supposed to be part of the most broken combo in the history of combo decks. Flash in Protein Hulk. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, sack it unless you pay its mana cost reduced by up to 2. Was it really that? Was this combo that consistent in Commander? Like with enough tutors to go get your creatures and your instants, was that enough? Was it like a consistent turn 1 combo? Or turn 2? Or something? We got Polarity here with the Tainted Strike. Hold on, I want to hear some... Like, did anyone face the Flash deck in Commander? I know that Flash was legal for a very long time until, I guess, the competitive Commander players started to complain. I don't know who was... Honestly, I don't know who complained about it, but someone complained, and eventually the Commander Rules Committee bent over and decided to ban Flash. Flash Hulk is a turn 0 win for Legacy. All right, well... But in Commander, like, how consistent is that? Because you have to deal with a bunch of one-ofs. You just got one-ofs everywhere. Okay, what do we got here? We've got... Okay, let's go to Polarity's super chat. Tainted Strike. Black instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains infect until end of turn. Where is this used? Target creature... Like, you... I guess this is just a means of killing someone out of nowhere with a big creature in your commander deck. I think that's how you do it. And you're not necessarily an infect deck, but they won't see it coming until you play the Tainted Strike. Brian F, thank you so much for your super chat. I run Gush in my casual vintage blue-red deck. I think it's restricted. Also, Gifts Ungiven is restricted too, I think. No, Gifts Ungiven was fair game. That's completely legal. It's 100% legal in vintage. You can have as many as you want. Maybe it was restricted at one time. They play around with the restricted, not restricted all the time. And the other one you said Gush. We looked at Gush, but is it restricted? I think it's restricted in vintage. Yeah, this is restricted in vintage. I think this is another one that they go like, oh, we're going to restrict it. We're going to unrestrict it. Okay, let's see what happens. Right now, they're restricting it. It's like a rotating ban list. Fierce Guardianship. Fierce Guardianship for a blue 2 generic. If you control a commander, oh yeah, the commander one. If you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost, and it's a negate. Counter target non-creature spell. You go after their artifacts, enchantments, planeswalkers, instant sorceries. Go after them all. Oh, did I miss your super? I will go back, Dr. Django. Oh, does Tybalt's Trickery count? Absolutely. Thank you so much for the super chat. Surprised we actually got this far without talking about Tybalt's Trickery. It's gaining a reputation by itself. Can anyone break this card in Legacy, or is it too difficult? I think the problem with Tybalt's Trickery is it's very soft to counter magic, and Legacy has the best counter magic. And they also don't mind turn 3 wins. If you win on turn 3 in Legacy, well, I mean, that's just a Tuesday, right? Nobody cares. But in Modern, when you won on turn 3, they didn't like it so much. You know, they say that this is a turn 4 format, so consistently winning on turn 3 with Cascade. And you might wonder, like, how is this broken? It's broken with things like Violent Outburst, or any Cascade spell for that matter. So you play your Cascade spell. It's going to trigger while the card is still on the stack, then finds Tybalt's Trickery, and then counters the Violent Outburst, and then you put some jank card into play. Super powerful card. I just bought 2 Tybalt's Trickeries. Assassin's Trophy. From Christopher. This is a card. One of those universally... Well, it doesn't look like a big deal, but it just technically deals with anything. It's a nice utility card. You want to deal with any permanent on the battlefield. Destroy target permanent an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So, I mean, for the longest time, you know, black and green has problems with lands. So this beats up all the utility lands, the creature lands, while not really abusing, you know, land destruction. They're at least going to go search the library for a basic land, put onto the battlefield, untapped. So you can't, I mean, unless the player doesn't have any basic lands in their deck, they'll be fine on the mana base front. But like, nice, useful utility land for sure. We can't forget Fog. No, I'm gonna forget Fog. I think we did Silence. Lightning Helix is not bad for the burn players out there. It's one of the best burn cards. Best card in the mirror of burn, by the way. Deal 3 damage to you, and I gain 3 life. That's backbreaking. Healing Salve! Yeah, it's like Healing Salve and Lightning Bolt, all in one. What's Word of Command? Let's read the Oracle text. I don't even know if this is good. Look at target opponent's hand and choose a card from it. You control that player until Word of Command finishes resolving. The player plays that card if able. While doing so, the player can activate mana abilities only if they're from lands that player controls, and only if mana they produce is spent to activate other mana abilities of lands the player controls and or to play that card. If the chosen card is cast as a spell, you control the player while that spell is resolving. All right, you guys determine if that card is any good or not. Herbert Thanks so much for the super chat, Herbert. Frantic Research, Entomb, and Dramatic Reversal. You only get one. Frantic Research is a great one. And we haven't done it yet, which also makes it great. Where is this? Frantic... What's it called? What is this card called? I thought it was Frantic Research. Frantic something. Oh, Frantic... Oh, sorry, it's Frantic Search. Blue 2 generic instant. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. And you untap up to 3 lands. So if you like cards in your graveyard, this is a great card because you're not going to lose anything. Whatever you discard, you probably wanted to put in the graveyard anyway. And you get to untap your mana, which means you can play another spell on that same turn. That will never get print. It's like banned in Pauper, banned in Legacy. Perfectly legal in Vintage because they have bigger problems to deal with in that format. Jesse says, has Dark Ritual been done yet? Yes, it has been done yet. But thank you so much for the super chat anyway. What is a virtual Dark Ritual that we could talk about? Cabal Ritual. How about that one? That sees play too. Because after you've done, after you've played all your Dark Rituals, then you can do Cabal Ritual. Add black to your mana pool threshold. Add 5 black to your mana pool instead if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Oh, yeah, why don't we do these? Red Elemental Blast. Notice that the red ones are more popular than the blue ones. Red Elemental Blast, counter target blue spell, counter target destroy target blue permanent. Same thing with Pyroblast. Same damn thing. So for a red, counter target blue spell if it's blue, and destroy target permanent if it's blue. Captain! Oh, we got the captain here. First time catching your stream. Greetings from Germany. What is with Demonic Tutor? It's broken. That's what it is. We went over this thing. Oh, no, we didn't have this one. Demonic Tutor. Search your library for a card and put that card into your hand. It's funny. When you compare it to Vampiric Tutor, it's... For 1 more mana, you get the card directly into your hand. You save yourself life. Oh, but it's not an instant. Whatever. Sorcery is still plenty good. This card's completely broken. It's the tutor of all tutors. I guess this is the tutor of all tutors, even above Vampiric Tutor. If this is the, this is like Sauron, and this is Saruman. It's just thinking that one tutor to rule them all is the Demonic Tutor. Oh, Chris Ross, thank you so much for the super chat. Just catching the stream, I don't know what was mentioned so far, but I highly doubt we talked about Suspend, one of my favorite blue instants. Let's look at Suspend, one of the new cards. One of the newer cards on the block. Very underappreciated removal spell. Or pseudo protection spell. For 1 blue, exile target creature and put 2 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. So if you need to deal with some creature immediately, pertinently on the battlefield, suspend it away and it'll be gone for 2 turns. Alternatively, if someone's trying to kill your creature, you can also suspend it, put it on Suspend, and then you'll get it back in like 2 more turns later. Thank you so much for your super chats, everyone. Doomblade. Dies to Doomblade. It's the task. This is the bar for whether anything is playable or not. Destroy target non-black creature. Hey, Nikachu, you're reading chat? I am. Yeah, even on Facebook. Although I have to... I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook, so it's way more. The chat is way more active on Facebook by big time, so I may or may not see everybody's message. Boulder, thank you so much for the super chat. Risk Factor or Unearth, either or both are personal favorites. I think of yours. So let's look at Unearth, because I do believe that is this card. Black, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. People love this card. People love the idea of bringing the creature directly back from the graveyard to the battlefield for 1 mana, for a singular mana. Worst case scenario, if you have nothing else to do with this, you just cycle it away, so it's not complete garbage. Good God, how do we not? It's a good thing we didn't end the show without going over this one. Dig through time. Absolutely. Blue 6 generic instant delve. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. True story. Yeah, look at the top 7 cards of your library. Banned everywhere except Pioneer because they don't have fetch lands. Fetch lands evening everything out. You guys with the super chat, this is insane. Capsize is my favorite card, especially when combined with infinite mana. Hold on, before I move, I just want Dig Through Time is one of the most broken cards in Magic the Gathering because for 2 blue, you dig super deep into your deck and you take any 2 cards you want. You don't have to reveal them to your opponent. Dig Through Time is just insane. Anyway, we looked at Capsize, but we'll do it again for the super chats. We got Brian's super chat over here. Yeah, how do you make your infinite mana combo? How do you get that blue mana, huh, Brian? What's your method of blue mana? Turn target permanent to its owner's hand. For 6 mana, you bounce it all back to their hand. Yeah, Treasure Cruise too. Well, sorcery alert. Sorcery alert. Sorcery alert. Irving Jose with the Flusterstorm. The counter spell that will counter all counter spells. Because counter target instant or sorcery spell unless they pay 1. And it has Storm. So it will trigger, the Storm will go off, and then nail everything else. And for sure, they're not going to have enough... Usually the combo deck does not have enough mana to deal with the Storm. Especially if they're comboing off. It usually requires a few cards to combo off. Faulty Wiring with the Mandate of Peace. Thank you so much for your super chat, by the way. Mandate of Peace. What is this card? A white 1 generic. It's from Commander. Cast this spell only during combat. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn and end the combat phase. Okay, we can only play it by combat. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. Remove all attackers, blockers from... So basically, you know, while your opponents are attacking, you basically just to say, oh, wait, we're going to... It's like ending the turn, but ending the combat phase, and they go directly to their main phase. This is neat. I've never heard of this card. Never heard of it at all. It's the first time. You got, Command Tower. That's not even an instant. It's not even an instant. Does Brazen Bar count as an instant? I'll count it. It's because we're counting Petty Theft. Let's look up Petty Theft and see if anything shows up. And it does. Because Brazen Bar might also be a creature, but it's also an instant attached to it. Return target non-land permanent an opponent's control to its owner's hand. But you might as well interpret it like this. You return that permanent to their hand, plus you have a 3/1 creature attached to it that gets put into exile. It's like create a 3/1 flying token that can only block flyers and put it into exile and cast it for 3 mana. Surgical Extraction. It says the mill player, but it's not just for the mill players, it's also for the anti-graveyard players. Choose target card in a graveyard other than a basic land, search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that card and exile them, then that player shuffles. And the convenient thing about Surgical Extraction is it can be played for Phyrexian mana, so anyone can play this card, or at least in competitive tournaments. I know you Commander players have something called that you can't break your color pie, right? You need to stick by the color pie rules. What are the rules? What is that called? I can't remember what it's called. The color identity. That's what it's called. Color identity. The stick bug is trying so hard to get Boros Charm on here. Okay, one of the best burn spells in the game. Deal 4 damage to a player or planeswalker. Remember, you can hit the planeswalkers too. Your permanents gain indestructible until end of turn, or you could give a creature double strike. Very, very unlikely that you play the double strike part, but sometimes it happens. Ooh, Intuition is a great one. Intuition. This is a crazy card. Blue 2 generic. Search your library for 3 cards and reveal them. Target opponent chooses one of them, put it into your hand, and put the rest into your graveyard. So you can feel your graveyard. This is perfect. What is with this? This is perfectly legal in Commander, but Gifts Ungiven is not. This makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Oh, Nexus of Fate is a fantastic one. Nexus of Fate. What a wild card. For blue, 5 generic, you take an extra turn after this one. If Nexus of Fate would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Nexus of Fate and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So basically you have infinite Nexus of Fates if you can keep digging for it into your deck. Oh god, deflect the big, this is like a big got you card. Deflecting Palm. Deflecting Palm. Speak to the hand, because the, what is it called? Speak to the hand because the face don't care. So a white, red, the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, Deflecting Palm deals that much damage to that source's controller. Excellent stuff. All right, beautiful. Well, that's it for Coffee and MTG today. Thank you very much, everyone, for showing up. Remember, we do this now, 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll try it out for a month and see how it works. It works more conveniently for me. I don't know if it works out more conveniently for you. We're gonna let the views decide. But thank you very much, everyone, for your support, supporting with the super chats, being a member on YouTube, or supporting on Patreon. I really appreciate your support. But most importantly, I thank everyone who shows up here in the morning, because without you guys, I'm screwed. Oh, Brian F. with another super chat. Thank you so much. The infinite capsize combo I use is with Candelabra of Tawnos and Tolarian Academy and a bunch of artifacts. What format are you playing? All of this is legal. I guess it has to be vintage. That's crazy. So anyway, thank you so much, Coffee Crew, for showing up this morning. So as usual, keep brewing up those coffees, and we'll keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next cup.